So here we have the top 8 player that in Chicago, Illinois, who went with Luard, the only Luard player in his tournament. Here we have Kiro. Is that good? Yeah.
Karan Patel.
Karan Patel. All right. So he actually, got top 8. Do you mind showing your little badge just in the beginning? There we go. Yep, the top 8 ARG Circuit Series. He went completely, almost undefeated. He went X2 on rounds. On standing before Swiss, he got 2nd place, and then after Swiss, he got 6th place. Right?
Yeah. After at Swiss, I got 6th, and then for Top Cut, I just got 2nd.
Oh, right. So it's backwards.
Almost there.
Yeah. All right. So let's just begin with the deck profile.
All right. You well?
Yeah.
Alright, so let's just first start off. First off, Forerunner is Drag Wizard Vicariu. He's just the best Forerunner right now, in my opinion. Ritual 3 just goes into Soul after getting retired. Countercharge 1. Countercharging this deck is really nice, especially with all the cool cards and abilities you get right now. Just not really much I can say about him. For triggers, I run 4 Cursed-Eyed Ravens. Stance in this deck are just really nice. Gives you good multi-attacks, and this card can go back in the deck, which is really good considering how much you dig through it.
Alright.
Next, if I'm going too fast, just let me know, by the way. Next, I got Mage of the Rogue Guy Arthur. This card, he's just another stand, but if you retire him, he goes back in the deck, which is really nice. And GB1, he counts as 2 rear guards, which is really good for some skills.
Alright.
Next, we just have 4 Belial Owl, because, other than it being Belial Owl, it's a crit that goes back in the deck, which is really nice. Lets me draw a card. And, also, you can call him out with Dragfall Luard skill to retire one, then use Drag Abyss to retire him to draw another or so. You call him to retire and then you retire him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Do you want to explain the people why you run 8 stand triggers?
Yeah, for sure. So, in this deck, I do a lot of text on my Drag Abyss turns because my numbers are just massive, and if I can, I'm going to try to attack as many times as possible, make my opponent just dump their hand when they're at 4 to 5 damage. They just need to make sure they live that turn. But if I have stands in there, I can do 6 attacks that turn, which is really...
Alright.
Okay. And then, of course, just 4 of the Revenger heal that goes have 2. You can bind them to Soul Charge or Countercharge 1. This gives you really nice resource management, and this is one of the few decks I think that actually can properly use that Soul Charging really nice.
Alright.
All in all, just a very solid card to have. Alright, on to the grade 1s. 4 Dragsaber Astras, very solid card. You can use it with Vicariu to retire it, to add this to hand and countercharge one. Use it on Belial Owl if you really wanted to get another draw power for essentially a free card in hand. Just really nice to have. Recycles itself, and it's just a very reliable PG to have during opponents like big turns and such. Next, I have just 3 Draglancer Delids, which she's just a Swordbreaker of the deck, really. Ritual 1, if I have a Ritual Vanguard, I can Soul Blast 1 to draw 1. She's not as consistent as Blackwing Swordbreaker, but she gets the job done, and she's Ritual, meaning if I call her with Dragfall Luard skill, I get to retire a card, and she's just really nice to have. Next, I run only 2 Abyssal Owl. Abyssal Owl, he's a really good card, just searches you out Luard. But his other skill, which is Ritual 3, if he's retired by your Vanguard skill with Luard in its name, you countercharge one. The weakness here is that the countercharge has already retired by a Vanguard skill, which doesn't happen as often as one would think with this card. You want more cards that get like their effects off just retiring in general, not just Vanguard skill. Late game, he's not as good also for the search ability. Early game, I have yet to miss with him, which is really nice.
Alright.
Next, I run probably the best grade 1 in this deck, and probably one of the best as this game, or as this clan gets more support, is Drag Wizard Fumok, where she has this nice skill where in hand, just rest a card with a ritual ability, a rear guard of course, not a vanguard, and then you just get to draw a card. Giving you ritual 1 from turn 0 is really nice. And when you have ritual 5 on her GB2 skill, she gets resist and plus 7k, meaning on her own, she's a 14k rear guard, which is just phenomenal, and that's just really massive. And then for attack, I run 2 of the original sword breakers. The reason for this is sometimes you're always going to have like those games where you don't have any ritual on your first stride and you just need to get like your engine going. So calling this Soul Blasting to grade 1 from your soul to draw 1 is just always a nice clean feeling to have, as it will start up your engine as the game progresses.
Alright. Did you count how many grade 1s you play? Like total?
Should be, if I recall, it should be about, I'm sorry, 1 second. 15 grade 1s.
15 grade 1s. And, okay, so after we're done with the grade 2s, you mind also saying how many grade 2s you have?
Okay.
Yeah, alright.
So on to the grade 2s is a card that most people don't like, but I still think it's really good, is just Drag Wizard Morfessa. She's consistent, she hits for a good number, and she's always good to ride on your Vanguard circle. Mainly because when you Soul Blast her for your stride skills, or just once you're in GB phase, she is a grade 1 in your soul, or not in your soul, I'm sorry, in your drop zone. She's just, gets you that ritual faster. She's just very solid attacker for hitting for a 14k base, meaning she will hit those pesky force vanguards such as like Alfred, Overlord. She's just very solid card, and she helps. She's also very consistent during the stride phase.
All right.
Next is a card that is also that is actually a staple in the deck. Slaptail Dragon. He's like Grosne, but with ritual. When you have a grade 4 Vanguard, he counts as a grade 1 in the deck and a drop zone, which is really nice. Of course, that means because he's not as consistent as Morfessa, but when you do have your grade 4 Vanguard, that means he's searchable, and he counts as ritual, which is just really nice as the game progresses.
Alright.
And then the next card is by far the reason I think Luard actually gets tops, or like makes a huge threat, is Dragfester Dagda. On Ritual 5, this bad boy will let you retire one of your grade 1 or lower rear guard to call 2 new grade 1s onto the field, meaning that you can attack with a column, then attack with him, skill, to retire one of those units to call 2 new units and then attack with them afterwards. And the best part about his ability, he's not once per turn, meaning this guy, if he restands, can do that same ability all over again to make your opponent just feel angry about themselves for not doing something about this card.
So as long as you have Counterblast and he's restanding, then like nothing's gonna stop him?
Yeah, and this deck will have a lot of Counterblast open, and he's the guy who will eat up your Counterblast. No other card eats up Counterblast as much as he will.
Yeah, I can see why.
And with that, that's a total of 12 grade 2s. And then onto the grade 3s. I run 2 Draghard Luards. We're in a format right now, for premium-wise, where people like to get under grade 3 as fast as possible, because they get some sort of imaginary gift from it, such as like Alfred gets spores, Blasters or Overlord gets spores, OTT gets protect, etc. So meaning you will need to get a stride fodder in hand as soon as possible. So running multiple grade 3s can help you get there, as well as that Draghard Luard is still a good card. It's still playable. You put 2 grade 1s from your drop zone, or not 2 grade 1s, just 2 normal units from your drop zone back to the bottom of your deck. Lets you cycle plays, and it's just he's just a good card, honestly.
Alright.
But of course, the real bread and butter of this deck is the main Vanguard you typically want to ride, Dragfall Luard. He lets you ultimate stride, he lets you stride for free, essentially, with the cost of Counterblast 4 going down. Typically, at the most I've ever paid for his cost was Counterblast 2, which is not that bad considering how much countercharging you can do into the deck. He retires one, he calls a card on the field. He's just very consistent. It's really good to have him.
All right. So in total, you run 16 the triggers. You run 15 grade 1s, 12 grade 2s, and 6 grade 3s.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And your starter. All right. Yeah. All right. That's pretty good.
All right. Next is the G Zone. Just drag strider Luard. He's not like the best strider right now, but he's still good. He's consistent. He's most decks in premium still run grade 1 PGs, just because their PGs get them like a nice skill, or they need to run 12 crits because they need to take out those draw PGs for like a trigger that goes back in the deck or has like a really powerful ability. Not every deck likes to run vanillas because they need to run some sort of special skill, meaning that he's still a threat and your opponent might not even have a chance to guard him. Or if they do, they have to dump a lot of their grade 0s.
Alright.
Next, of course, is probably the best card in the deck and the main reason people win, Ultima. You can't get to him as quickly as second stride for a measly cost of putting a normal unit onto the bottom of your deck. Just calling 2 cards for free, putting a stand trigger and a crit on the top of your deck, or even 2 crits. If your opponent's at 4 damage, I'm pretty sure you can end it right there if they have like a small hand. I like to say if your opponent has 6 cards in hand and you play this, you will win the game. There's no way around that, honestly.
Whenever you go with Ultima, because it's really scary to go to an ultimate stride. It's a really hard decision to make, especially when it's like a big tournament, not like any local tournament. What do you go, or like what are your choices, or what do you use to determine when to use the ultimate stride?
So before I play, let me just give some backstory. Before I played Shadow Paladins with ultimate strides, I had Kagura, right, and Drachma. And a rule of thumb is, like I mentioned earlier, is how much damage are they at? Are they at 4 or more? And is their hand at least 6 cards max? If they have a small hand and they have that much damage, it's like about a 95% chance you will win that game on your ultimate stride right there and then.
Damn.
Ultimate strides on average consume about at least 3 to 6 cards from your opponent's hand, which is, because they're big threats, they're going to hit hard, and they will, and I mean that's their whole gimmick, is that they have to end the game there, or you lose a G zone.
Yeah.
During the regionals, I have not lost a single game striding onto him because I just followed that rule of thumb.
All right, that's good.
Next is just Aura-Geyser Damned, and then Aura-Geyser. Of course, you don't ride Aura-Geyser, you just use him for his skill. He just helps you go dig through your deck, helps you fix your hand, get those if you have all these grade 0s in hand, you kind of don't want them, call them onto the field, retire them with the skill, put those triggers back in the deck, draw 2 new cards, and go from there. He's not a big threat play, he's just there to fix your hand, really. That's about it.
Alright. So it's just there to make your good hands better, pretty much?
Yes, it's that.
Alright.
Next is Phantom Blaster Diablo. Not many people know about this, or play this card, or see this card in play, but most people will now because of how popular Geese is becoming. And this card, he holds well. I think he's one of the oldest strides that Shadows have gotten.
Yep.
And just for if your opponent has one or less rear guards, your opponent can't guard with cards in hand, meaning they can only G guard, essentially. Which is just really nice, and especially against clans like OTT where they have a Promise Daughter, or even decks that use Geese, they just really can't guard this. It's almost impossible for them to.
All right.
It's just a really nice card. If they are at 4 damage too, it's like at least a 90% chance this game, unless they get a heal trigger, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game has snagged me a couple wins. And it's really nice.
Would you ever consider bumping him to 4?
I was actually considering it, but for petty reasons, honestly, I didn't because I didn't have 4 foils. If I did bump him up, it would take out the Aura-Geyser. But I still like Aura-Geyser just because he lets me fix hands. It's honestly a tech option at that point if you want to run 4, but 2 is still obviously a good one because you just need to use him that one turn and that's it.
Alright.
He's mainly your game ender and nothing else really. Because this next card is your most consistent stride to ever go into, Dragabyss Luard. Just for a simple Soul Blast 1, to retire one of your units, you retire one of your opponents, and then call 2 new rear guards. That skill is honestly average, but it's still good. But what makes him amazing is his GB3, which is a Ritual Cross. For every 4 grade 1s in your drop zone, your entire front row gets plus 10k. This means that if let's say you have 6 grade 1s in your drop zone, right? And you have a Slaptail and then a grade 1 on your circle, and they already attacked. You attack with your Dragfencer Dagda. Then using his skill, you retire one of your cards to call 2 new rear guards. You're now at Ritual 8, meaning that Dagda will be attacking for 29 alone, while your next column will be attacking for like maybe 30 to 40k, which is just massive. The best I've ever seen this guy go to was Ritual 16, just hitting for plus 80k. Well, not plus 80k, I'm sorry, plus 40k to the front row, which was just fun to look at.
Damn. Alright.
If I ever got that far into Ritual, I think I actually won every game that happened. Hitting for about 6 attacks that turn was pretty scary. Next is a card that people are saying there's no point to run it, but I still think you should run it. Air Elements Breeze. Yes, the new stride rule happened, but the new stride rule does not mean this card is dead. This card still works. Like, if your opponent G-assist, then they win. They did not rewrite a grade 2, that means you go on grade 3, go into Breeze. She also is an act ability, meaning you can, let's say you want to ride onto Dragheart Luard, you ride Dragheart Luard, set up a board, like call a Belial Owl or something, then go into Breeze, then use Luard skill, retire to Belial Owl, then call 2 new rear guards, and then boom, you just got a nice plus play for almost nothing.
Alright.
And not to mention that, you're being on a stride first, you attack first with a triple drive, your opponent will, they'll just feel the pressure right there alone. You get your triple drive, you get maybe a couple stands or a crit or something, you just got a huge momentum in the game.
I'm noticing that that's all the G monsters, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So why didn't you run Spectral Diablo?
Spectral, I actually really like Spectral, but there's a couple weaknesses to him. Well, first of all, he has a Soul Blast cost, which isn't the worst thing because we do run Dragabyss Luard, but this game has gone to where multi attacks are really key from your rear guards is more. So with Spectral, he is a Counterblast 2 for his skill, and then you have to retire 2 cards on top of that, which isn't the worst thing, but it will only be him attacking. That's your main focus of the turn then. But with this deck that I built, at least, I like to focus with my rear guards because they hit actual really nice numbers and they do a lot of good work too. essentially I will be hitting for at least like 26 to 28k. So it's almost as much as like if I just attacked with like a stride unit, like for 26 or so.
Oh, I see. Also, I saw that you didn't run Drag Strider Luard. I think that's the name of him.
Oh no, he's right here.
Oh no, not that one. The other one.
Oh, I think you mean Drag Driver Luard.
Yeah, that one, Drag Driver.
Oh, okay. Well, Drag Driver Luard, I used to run him before Dragfall came out. He's just not that good anymore because his skill was like every unit you call with his skill gets plus 1k. But the problem with him was when you stride onto him, it's an auto skill where you must have Ritual 3 to activate his skill, and it was a Soul Blast.
Right.
At least with Dragobus Luard, it's not a ritual like to use his skill, it was an act, and you could do it after you set up your board how you wanted to.
Oh, okay. Alright.
So they basically combine these two cards to make Drag Driver Luard, but more consistent per se, and more threatening.
Alright.
Next is the G Guardians, just one Bronarch. Just look at the top 5 cards, and you just call every grade 1 you want to the Guardian Circle. Typically, you just want to use, if you just see a grade 1, you want to call it, no matter if it's a PG or not. You can't use the PGs when you call it with the skill, but it fuels your drop zone. If your opponent strikes first and you use this, you will typically at least have Ritual 3 to 4 on your turn, meaning you can, if you have your Ritual cross, you will always get that plus 10k, which is really nice. I would not bump this. I wouldn't really bump this up to a 2, or even take this out. This is just a good one-of card for many situations.
All right, that's fair.
Next is just Dark Vile Dragon. Like Bronarch, it's just a one-of. His skill is just Soul Blast 1 for every for every 2 grade 1s in your drop zone. He gets plus 5k, meaning late game he will hit for a really good number. It's like during my Luard game where I had like Ritual 16, this guy just got a plus 80k shield, which was just really bonkers. And when you tell your opponent, yeah, this is plus 80k shield, they're like, all right, so no to pass. And then,
yeah. All right.
You mainly use it for that Vanguard attack, and that's about it. If you use multiple of them, that Soul Blast is actually going to hurt you, because that's a pretty hefty cost. What you typically want, because you're going to use them late game, is use your skill triggers to bind them to Soul Charge 1, and then use the skill to Soul Blast 1. Sometimes you get that nice grade 1 Soul Charge and Soul Blasted, so it even fuels the power even more.
Okay.
And then I have 2 Plotmaker Dragons, just a very consistent card, 36k shield with the Vanguard. He's just a good mid game too, honestly, and has decent early game. There's like nothing wrong with this card at all.
Alrighty.
And then lastly, is the Witch Queen. I'm sorry. And what she does is, for flipping a G guard, you call 2 grade 1 rear guards to the Guardian Circle, and if you call 2, you draw 1. With this deck, you will always have like dead rear guards in the back row. You will always have like cards that you don't really want, such as these like sword breakers or so. Like you don't really need them anymore. So it's like F it, just guard with them, and then put them in the drop zone. So you got plus 2 ritual, which is really nice. And yeah, you just can't go wrong with basically a free shield. And with the new premium stuff coming out, like, I don't know if you saw, but Blaster Javelin looked pretty good. A grade 1 with 10k shield, meaning this thing will guard for 46k alone, which is just phenomenal.
Right. Do you actually feel excited for the upcoming cards for Shadow Paladin?
At first I wasn't. I'm not the biggest fan of Ren support in general, but cards like the Blaster Javelin was really nice addition to the game. Just for if you have another like grade 1 or less rear guard, you kind of less one to draw one, which is really nice. And it's not even GB restricted, so it's good early game. Yeah. And I'm still going to test around the Blaster Dark card right now. Maybe I'll run it, but I don't think I will, because I still like Luard over Blaster Dark.
All right. Yep. So that was it, right? That's all the deck profile?
Yeah.
All right. So, any tips you might want to say to Shadow Paladin players, especially Luar players? You know, any suggestions or things like that?
Yeah, of course. 1 second. All right. So first off, if you have like sword cards like Swordbreaker or Draglancer in your hand, you don't feel discouraged, or you don't have to call them onto the field. What you do with them is just guard those like pesky like cheap shot attacks in the early game. Let your opponents feel your ritual. It's gonna be better for you in the late game. But and then another one is Drag Wizard Fumag. If you can use your skill, that doesn't mean you should use your skill. Sometimes you need that. You need her in hand just for the guarding, or even just call her for the plus 7k. And another thing you want to do is just save your resources in your hand. As the game progresses, your hand is going to get a bit weaker, and cards like SRAS, you want to save at least one in hand as quickly as possible, because sometimes if your opponent gets on that grade 3 first, you can just simply PG with this, discard another grade 1. Boom, you're at Ritual 2 already. That means just Counterblast 2 and you're free stride, or even if you have more, then you get like just free stride for no Counterblast. It's really nice stuff. And of course, so if you're going to be if your opponent strides first, I'd recommend guarding with Fuma or Bronarch first, just because it ramps up Ritual, and most of the time first strides are not the biggest hitters. They're usually more basic stuff. Of course, you do not want to use cards like I'm so sorry, Bronarch or Plotmaker on your opponent's Vanguard anymore, mainly because the new triggers are plus 10k. These things are going to be really weak against them. These cards are really good against rear guard attacks. You want to save your PGs for your opponent's Vanguard, as these things, as these will always, they're just PGs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and also some people are not really comfortable with Morphiza or with the Order Geyser Doom. What would you tell them? You know, just trying to convince them, or you know, what would you say? What would be your comment with that?
Yeah. For Mephisto, I'm just gonna say, just try her out. I understand people like Drag Wizard Neon, who is discard 1 grade 1 to draw 2. He fills up your ritual really nicely, but he himself is pretty crap as the game progresses, as he only has that one skill. Meanwhile, Morfessa, she gains power, and on hit you get a call card. Sometimes I like to just have fun and call a Fumak, which she becomes a 14k, or even a Swordbreaker, which lets you draw a card for free. So it's really nice. And it also, if you have her on that Dragobus turn, you can use her skill to even get another multi-attack in, which is always really fun to have. And then for Orgeyser Damned, it's very understandable that most people don't like him, and I get it. I like him because he does filter the deck, and he does help with some problems here and there, and he's still a decent first stride. But if you don't really like him that much, I'd recommend just running either another, like 2 more Phantom Blaster Diablos, or if you really want, take him out for Spectral Duke Diablo, and then take the other one for even what's his name? Ogma. There we go. Drag Evil Ogma, because he at least gets you retire cards, and it makes your opponent have to like discard cards too, which is okay, but it's not the best.
Yeah. All right.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, and anything else you might want to add?
I'll just say, don't sleep on this deck. It's still very good, and especially when the new support comes in, we'll have new 15k shield triggers. We'll have 10k triggers. This deck will probably not be based around multi-text as much anymore, but it will still get good, big-hitting attacks. So don't sleep on Spectral Diablo once the new stuff comes in, or even Phantom Blaster Diablo. This guy might be one of the best strides in the next upcoming format.
All right. Before we end this video, you might want to could you please tell our audience how was the event, your matches, and you know everything like that, please?
Of course. Well, at first I actually did not want to go to the event mainly because so at first it was going to be G format, right? Me and my friends were all getting ready for practice for it, and then 3 weeks before the event started, we found out it was going to be premium, which means we would be seeing a very strict plays of just seeing mainly OTT with Stillwater Tom combo, which kind of discouraged most of us. But one of my friends said, "Hey, just come and just play Luard, just have fun with us or something, you know." So I decided we went and we had a good time. Originally, the shop, Carpa Underground, we were originally going to be having 40 people to come to the event, but because of that quick change, only 20 people came, which really sucked. So we had 5 rounds of Swift. I won my first game, I lost my second, then I won my next 2, and then I lost game 5. Each of them, every game I won, I won on game 2, and then every game I lost on game 3. So I always had a fighting chance each game. The first 2 rounds I played against blasters, not even blasters, mainly a deck built around Alfred. So there wasn't any Barkles, there wasn't any Lou. It was mainly get your Alfred, call the Blaster Blade, then use this card like Blaster Javelin, put 2 cards into Soul, and then call 2 Flogels. It was a really nice combo, and it had really cool early game pressure. And then after those 2 rounds, it was just OTT.
And
once they got into
when it came to OTT, how did you survive that?
Well, OTT hates early game pressure, and then so all I did was just simply call on grade 2s. I would just call 1 grade 2 Vanguard, or ride 1 grade 2, then call 1, or even call 2 grade 2s. Just attack. I have stand triggers, so I always restand something, and my opponent will be nervous and guarded because sometimes they don't expect to get a defensive trigger or something. I understand that they have 10k triggers that gets really painful to see, but you just gotta dig through it, or like stick to it. Just stick with the plan of just fighting back as best as you can, and you will eventually get there.
So we're in the season of we're going to the regional shop challenges, and everything's good coming like towards us. And we're all gonna see OTT on the top tables, and probably like a Luard, Royal Paladin here and there. What would you recommend those players playing against OTT?
Well, all I gotta say is if you're playing something like Blasters, you gotta just get your early game as quickly as possible. You gotta like ramp up. You want to see that Blaster Blade on your Vanguard circle with the extra crit when you attack your opponent, and you want to make sure you just keep applying that pressure. Once your opponent starts guarding all these attacks, their hand is going to get small where they either can't build a board or they just can't guard enough to have like their Oracle inactive. I actually got one of my opponents where he thought he activated Oracle, but Oracle is you have to have 5 cards in hand, and then after all of his skills, he only had 4 cards in hand. Oh. So he couldn't even activate Stillwater's effect just for guard restriction, which lost him the game. So it's just all about constant pressure. OTT, while it has probably one of the most broken combos in the game, it's still weak to multi-attacks, which is really nice. They can't just say, alright, retire that card or spin that card back. They gotta just like use these cards with like kind of silly effects, or like on card call, you must soul charge 1, then use like this skill to look at the top card or so, or counterblast 1 to get plus 5k. They got pretty silly skills. And then if you see your opponent having no face-up damage, you can't either you want to just like attack for game or just like kind of stop there, because then they can't once it's their turn, they have to either like waste cards to countercharge, or they just can't use their skills at all, which is just really nice.
All right. Any shoutouts you might want to give?
Shoutouts to just my locals, pastimes. We call ourselves the DK crew, so yeah, we're all just a bunch of cool guys there. Shout out to Dirk and Cardfight Underground, just a bunch of cool guys, and They're really enjoy playing with them and just have a lot of fun with them. And then shout out to my best friend Alex just for just sticking with me for all these years.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the deck profile.